again, everybody. Thank you for coming today. We are here with Darece Sperry from Davis Adult Education. She is an awesome guru of CASAS. So we're going to listen to her today on, some tricks, tips and tricks, and I'll let her take it away.
Okay, I'm happy to be here. I don't know if I'm an awesome guru, but I have been learning all along the way, just like the rest of you. And I would like to share some of the things that will help us to guide instruction when we are using, after we've gotten the CASAS test, and we want to know how to help our students. And so I put together a little PowerPoint that we can follow. We're going to go to the CASAS website. I'm going to show you what you can find there. We're going to look at some of the things there. And we are going to just get into TOPS Pro Enterprise a little bit just to see what you can do in there. This training is just a short part of what module 4 CASAS training is. And when you have to do every year you do your recertification, that this is a recommended training. And so that kind of makes a difference for people. And so I will also show you how to get on that if you want to get in further. So I'm happy to be here. And I'm just going to share my screen and let me know if you can see my PowerPoint. Yes, no, I haven't used Teams. I haven't presented in Teams before, so.
Not yet.
We can't see anything
It's new
yet.
for me. So, oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Now.
Now we can see.
Looks good.
See. All right. Okay. But that's not where I want to be. So we'll go back. Okay. This is my email address, and I'd like you to take note of it because I am going to be glad to answer your questions, direct you where you need to go. If you have any questions about CASAS, a lot of tech support is great to help you, but there may be some things that are just, more directed to our state or little questions, and I'm happy to help you with that. So, make note of my email address and, be glad to help you. So we're gonna, first of all, we're gonna take a poll, and you will need to go minimize this and go to your browser, and you're gonna put in this. pollev.com, Darece Sperry 5253. I'm sorry, it's such a kind of an annoying thing, but do your best to get in there. And it is a survey. So there are 4 screens, 3 questions. I want you to go in there and take that poll. Alex, Danielle, make sure you can get in. I've got it activated, so hopefully it's gonna work.
I got in. It should
Okay.
work.
Okay. Great. So be sure to go to all the pages. We'll just give it a minute more. Got about 7 people still working on it. All right, about 30 seconds. All right, I think that's good. About everyone's done. See if you can see. Can you see the poll now?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes.
We can see the big stripy screen.
Yes, correct.
Okay, let's see if, let me see. Let's go to this page. It's out of the way. All right. Okay. Let's go. So here are the different positions we all hold. So you can see coordinator, administrative assistant, helping with English, secretary, diploma, GED teacher, paraprofessional, someone in charge of testing and enrollment, remote learning tools. It'd be interesting if you're doing remote testing. ESL adults, teacher, administrator, the testing teacher. Lots of teachers and test administrators, assistants. Here we've got a Utopia administrator. So we've got quite a variety here. Let's go to the next one. Okay, what population do you serve? So about 15% are only adult basic education. 22% serve ELL. 11% only do adult secondary, and more than half do all of the above. So we're wearing lots of hats in our organizations and helping lots of different people. All right, let's look at the next one. And how long have you used CASAS? So we've got a, 20% almost that this is their first year with CASAS. 2 to 4 years is the biggest category. So we're getting our sea legs and getting so that we know how to use it. I find that I'm on the probably 5 to 10 year range using CASAS. Might be longer, but I think it's around that. I get more time to look deeper into what CASAS has to offer. At first, my first year, I'm just trying to be able to administer these tests and do it in a consistent and good way. 2 to 4 years, I'm just trying to get better at what I'm doing with the testing and learning how it all works and what the scale scores mean and how that affects my students. But I think even at the earlier times, it's good to be able to use what CASAS has to offer to help us to guide instruction. We've got lots of teachers. That's mainly what I'm going to be focusing on today. So let's see what our last one was. Oh, that's the end. Okay, so we can get rid of that. All right. So if you don't really use CASAS to guide instruction, if you're not really into the reports to see how students are doing, then this can be something that isn't directly what you'll be using. So keep that in mind. Okay, so here is an overview of the reports. CASAS does a lot of other stuff, but we have Utopia for what they have as far as keeping track of NRS levels, all that kind of stuff, demographics. So we primarily will use CASAS, e-tests, etc. for these particular reports. If you're only using paper pencil, we can you can still access these reports. You just need to use CASAS's answer sheets, and then they will help you to be able to input this into TOPS Pro. I have only used the TOPS Pro Enterprise and the e-tests, and I highly recommend those if you can do that. So I put in green the ones that you'd use the most. Personal score report, we'll see a copy of that. These, the test history we have really nicely on TOPS Pro Enterprise, but that could be useful. Learning gains could be interesting too, but these green ones are the ones that I find we need the most. So let's look at the personal score report. If you've never seen it in red, it's because you haven't had the time to drill down and figure out that you can change the colors. They have 3 colors, but this is the one that they can print themselves if you have that option when they finish the test. It's one that they could take to an employer to show what they're able to do. It gives them where they are on a scale. And so it's mostly for the student. And we use this a little bit, but I wanted to just let you see what that looks like. I think most of us are familiar with that. You can get it in TOPS Pro Enterprise. It's also online when they finish the test and they can choose to print it. So what I like to look at is right in TOPS Pro, they have lots of help on the CASAS website. And here's an example of one of the reports that we need to use a little bit more in our program. And so we'll look at that a little bit, but there are 2 places where you can access these sample reports. And I've got the URLs here. I will send this PowerPoint to Alex and she can send it all out to you. But I'll show you on the website as well. So I'm just going to go to the website really quick. So can you see the website okay? Pretty good with that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So just CASAS.org. And this is a very important place. My colleague Marcia is on here and she can tell you she knows this is a really good spot. So you go to contact us, and if you're having problems or you want questions answered, this is a good place to go. Be able to email them or call them, and they're pretty good to get back with you and help you a lot. So that's a good one. Also, let's go back to home. This is a very important one. Here it's always, I like to look at what's new because a lot of times they'll have new information, and so you can just take a look at that. You can also register for office hours if you want to talk to somebody to get more information or answer questions. So that's really a good one, and they're so good to work with you. All right, so let's go into training and support. So you can find this a couple of places. You can go to TOPS Pro Enterprise Help. And then it's right here. We've got instructional reports. So that's one place you can go. And here are some different tests that we've looked at. That's one way you can go. Another one is, see if I can find my, there is one that called the sample test. There we go, sample reports, and it's a little bit different. So it's differentiated a little bit. So you can go right into instructional reports or you can go into sample ones. And I'm going to use those for the most part for privacy reasons, but I am going to go into TE just to show you how to drill down. So this is the competency reports. And just, you know, maybe throw out there if anyone wants to, we have the different tests. So what's a competency? Does anyone know what a competency is that wants to just unmute and tell us what it is? Anybody brave, loud and proud? Do you know what it is when it is connected to CASAS tests? All right, well, let's look at one. They're not getting, so these are, this is a competency report. It's pretty long, right? And this is the position of the item on the test here. Here we have whether it is correct or not, what the competency is, and then we have task, and then here's the description of the competency. This particular test is a reading goals test. So it will tell you exactly what that question was, and here is what they had to do: communicate their opinion or interpret workplace announcements, etc. I find this to be a pretty long report, and especially to give a student. But if you're working one-on-one with a student, it can be helpful to see where they are doing really well. So here we've got a bunch of yeses, and the rest are no. So they're having trouble. And these competencies are in life skills areas, in math, in reading, in ESL. So here we have credit reports. We have looking at ads and labels, something that's job related, computation. So these are the competencies. They are the right down to the actual functional skill that you need to know. And CASAS has these for math and reading goals and for ESL. And so as a busy teacher, I don't look at this so much because it's a little overwhelming. However, you can do it this way. There's several different ways that you can do it. So here is just the student performance report, and here is tasks, right? And then this tells you how they did on all of the ones with this description, right? And the important thing to look at when you're looking at a report is the number of items. So if there are a lot of items, so look at this one, there are a lot of items, comparatively speaking, right? And they got 100%. So they're very good at that. However, if we've got a 5-item one here, which is 20%, identify procedures of career planning and self-assessment, they need a little work on that. And if you're teaching a class that is face-to-face, and you have a lot of people who are in this area, then that helps you to understand, oh, I need to go over the vocabulary and the experience of career planning. And because my students just aren't getting it, right? So if you have basic TOPS Pro Enterprise, you can print this report out and your students can kind of keep track too. Where are you having issues? And they can see what they need to work on. And as a class, they can help each other or find what they really want to work on. So if most of the class isn't having trouble here, but they are having trouble here, they know, oh, you're having trouble with this, me too. Let's do a class on careers. And here's another one on jobs, right? This one's a little bit better, but you can also do it by category. And I like this one a little bit better. The first two, they can be valuable, especially if you're working with a student one-on-one to raise their CASAS score and help them to get a level gain. Those first two reports can be helpful, but I like this one a little bit better because it takes the category and it shows where they need help. So here's one, let's see, this one doesn't have, here we have the number of items. So understanding concepts and materials related to job performance. Here's the voting process. This is pretty equally covering a bunch of different life skills. So this could be something that could help you to know what topic or life skill you need to cover along with your either the English instruction you're trying to do, the reading instruction you're trying to do. Let's just look at the last one really quickly. This one's pretty interesting. This is by task. And there is a key for those tasks. Oh, here we have, where's the test? This is D. And it is math. Is it math? Matrix. I'm not seeing it quickly enough. Form level D. Yes, this is still reading. Okay, so here's where the tasks are. Here's the reading and task. So it's knowing how to handle forms. Task 2 is charts, maps, consumer billing, etc. 3, articles, paragraphs, sentences. 4, signs, price tags, advertisements, product labels, and then measurements and diagrams. And this is for the listening test, what they need to do in those. So I would use this the most with reading or math. And so these are the tasks. Here we have 45% with tasks 2. There's 11 items, so it's a big deal. Here's task 3 and 18 items. And task 3 is articles, paragraphs, sentences, directions, manuals, just basic reading using more content, a little bit more discourse. So I know that this student really needs help with this. And if you're pulling this for your class, I found when I did it that this is a big one. And so something that you would need to work on. So let's go back here. So the competency report, especially by task, can be quite useful, or by category. It's a quick way to look and see what life skill you might want to be focusing on, especially in a face-to-face class. If you're teaching individually, then this is also useful. But what we like to do is select materials that already have the competencies embedded. And I think most of our programs do that. So let's see. Let's take a poll. So we're going to go back to the same screen again. And let me get here and enter. I'm going to have to. Okay, and what I'd like you to do is tell what materials that you select or what you're using, what texts, what computer software that you're using, that you are already covering the competencies that are on those tests. So if your curriculum never addresses any of the life skills or competencies, you might find that your students are having more trouble. Especially in the ESL when competencies are what we're trying to teach them and life skills are what we're trying to teach them. But in reading and math, that's the way these tests are done. So go ahead and do that. There are 3 questions in this as well. So go ahead and do that poll. Okay, we're going to just do about 2 more minutes. All right, just try and finish up. Okay, I'm gonna bring that over, have a look. We'll be able to share with each other what materials we use in our programs to cover some of the life skills and competencies. And also tasks are usually very much covered in those, whether it's graphs or opportunities to do paragraphs or looking at labels or things like that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and present. So here we have, the question is, what materials, books, software, web-based programs do you use to address math competencies? So we've got graphs here. This is math, particularly calculators. No idea. Let's see, math workbooks. Oops. Math workbooks. PLP, personalized learning platforms. Packets, and then Edgenuity, GED Academy, Essential Ed. These are all really good for helping get those individualized competencies in, as well as tasks. We've got a couple people here using the same. And then, yeah, sometimes we have a library of resources that we can go through and help individual students. And homework packets, Edgenuity, Essential English. Sometimes, yeah, Step Forward sometimes has a math section. Okay, and then we do have an IT math class. That's information technology math class. Okay. And then we have A+ software. All right. So if you find a task or competency on the report, you run the competency report and you run it by task, and you see that you have a student having an especially difficult time with the graphs in math, you're not going to be guessing. And then if you see a competency as well that is mixed with that task, you can really zero in. And sometimes to get the level gain, you only need a couple more points, right? And so sometimes zeroing in on a task and getting your class or your student better at those tasks or competencies will be the thing that takes them over the top. Otherwise, you're just, you know, sort of guessing and hoping that the more time they put in, that they'll be able to do better on the test. So let's look at the next one. This one is for reading, it's particularly the ABE. Sorry for my spelling error there. Burlington, again, PLP, GED Academy, Ingenuity, Steckfon has some good stuff. And maybe we can put together a list of this and send out. Reading Horizons can be very helpful, especially on some of those tasks. Score Boost, Ventures is a really good one for ESL learners. Burlington as well. Using phonograms, spelling. Okay, True Stories, 21st Century, great. So if you're new, you know, we can send out a list of these materials and give you an idea of what to look for. And then here we are again with this one is for ELL learners. It's a lot of the same one. Newsella, the least you should know about English. Whoops. Great. Step Forward, Burlington, a lot of Burlington, and Burlington really does have a lot of, it also has the capability of going straight to a competency and looking up materials under a particular competency. Quizlet, again, many. Something from Canvas Commons. It'd be good to know what that is. It's great. Okay. Oops, I think I took everything over. Let's see. All right. So I'm just going to go back. Maybe not. Oh, okay. Let's see. So when you're looking at these different types of reports, just go a little bit off the usual routine, especially if you have a student that you're having trouble really helping them, and maybe do it by task or do it by category. The next assigned test, we're just gonna go in and have a look at this one. So the next assigned test can be helpful, especially if you do it by class. Right now, there are two ways to run this report. You can, it's alphabetized, so you go into, and I'll show you that in a minute, go into TE and you generate this report. And it's not going to do it just by your student. It's going to go, ours goes on and on and on and on. But it is alphabetized, so you can, if you know which student you're looking for, you can scroll through and find. And then you can see what the next test is likely to be. So if they had this math test, their next one is going to be, this was their raw score. And so they're going to be bumped up. And so you know what the next test is going to be. If you're using eTest Online, it's going to automatically give that to you. When it could be helpful is if you think that the test is too difficult, you might want to change what test you give. So if it's math, there aren't a lot of choices quite now yet, but if it's an ELL test, and say they get a 196 on the listening and they've been doing 983, you can bump them down to 982, which would be more appropriate. Okay. And then the other one is the learning gains. And I'm going to show you where you can find those in a minute, and you can look at those if you'd like. If those seem to be valuable to you, you can look at those and explore that a little bit. And this one may not be available on the basic. Okay, so let's keep going. Then here's the individual skills profile, and this is the one that most of us use. And so you can go to into TE, and this is the one that we keep on file for the state. This is the one that we give to the student. This is the one that we do a quick glance at to see where they're having issues and what we should help them with. So let's just go ahead and look at a sample of that one. Let's see here. Okay. So you can do it a couple of ways. In fact, maybe I'll just go in here. Well, I'll show it to you first. Again, a color change. I'll show you how to do that. So this person has taken ABE tests, math and reading, and this should be pretty familiar to everyone. Here is the legend that tells you when they can move up from their EFL and what that score should be. It also tells whether or not they are going to be able to pass the GED or not when they get to a certain level. But it's divided into competencies if you want to do it that way. So this person, there's only 2 items. Again, items are important, but there are 17 items on employment and they only got 47%. So maybe a unit on employment could be helpful for that. Here is an area where you look at your curriculum, you look at what all the other students in the class are doing if you're doing a face-to-face, and see where they really need work. So here, I always like to look at the item number first, because if it's just 1 or 2 items, I could spend a lot of time on that, but it may not, that item might not even really be represented well on the next test. So if you look here, you can see that this is the biggest one under high order reading skills. Locate, compare details, infer, and draw conclusions. And I can promise you that this is pretty universal, right? And they had 11 items, the highest, and only 36%. So one of the things you can do is go to your materials and see, does Edgenuity have a lesson on drawing conclusions or inference? Another thing that you can do is you can actually look at the test and see what those test items look like. Now, you can never show a test to a student. You can never help a student. You can never use the test in any way to copy it to use for instruction, but you can see what kinds of words they're using that may have to do with inference. You can look at how they are, the keywords would be one, and how those paragraphs look and what the questions look like. And you can look through your materials and find something that would work better. Score Boost has some we saw a lot of different examples, but this is where you might want to zero in. We've got another large number, 7, locating details, and that's not as big a problem. So if I were helping the student, that's what I would do. The same thing with, looks like they need some work on geometry, right? You could also look at the tasks. Here's, that's going to be because of reading, right? And here's the math tasks. Again, it's the reading, but we're also need some work on graphs. So really take advantage of these and try to help the student individually in this way. And many of you are probably already doing that. You can also do it by CASAS standards. And so it looks a little different. Again, we have the competencies, both math, reading and math, and we have the tasks and the math tasks. And then here we have algebra, number sense. So just a little different way to look at it. All right. Okay, I'm just gonna take you, well, let's see. Maybe we'll just look at the next one and then I'll go into TE for a minute. So the content standards are just what we teach. They are included in our curriculum usually. But this is a way to zero in on what these basic skills are that they need. And so you can run it by this. This might be an enhanced report, so I won't spend much time on it, but the others are basic. So if you have basic TE, you can do it. If you have the enhanced, you can run all the reports. So let's just look at a sample of the content standard. That one's the learning gains, which you can look at. Here we go. So this one is by test and content standard. Let's just have a look at that one. Just some of you may never have looked at this. Okay, so here are the standards, and here's a description of the standard. So the first one, identify the main idea of a simple text or a central idea or theme. And we all know that that is part of the examination process. So here you can look at the item numbers and also their score, how they did. And this is the math one, so we'll just look at the reading really quickly. Here are 9 items, which is the most, and only 44%. Determine what a text says implicitly. So again, making inferences, drawing conclusions, citing text evidence. That's something to work on. We have a 0% here, but it's only 2 items, so I might not zero in on that. And here's math, and they're pretty evenly distributed. So you might take a section that's got 0 and work on those. And here are, these are all written out for you, so you know what standards they really need to work on and you're not sort of guessing. Okay. All right. So I am gonna, right now, I am gonna go into TOPS Pro Enterprise, and you can download this to any program or any computer that you're using. And naturally, because I have everybody watching, I'm not going to remember my password. There we go. All right, so this is what shows up first, and most of us just ignore it, right? But here is a nifty little thing. If you have been looking up reports recently, like you've been looking up the next assigned test, you can go straight to that without using this navigator here. If you've been looking up competencies or content standard or the personal score report, if you do that individual skills report all the time, instead of going da dunk, da clonk, da blink, no, you can just go straight from here. All right, so once you're in, this is where you can set up what to do with the report. Say you want to know how a student is doing over multiple program years, and this isn't your first year using CASAS. So you have the record over multiple program years. You can, it's always defaults to the current year, but you can do this year and last year if you want. Say you don't like that kind of annoying criteria report at the end that just basically repeats all of this, you can click off, and that's not going to show. You can decide how you want the report to look, first to last, last to first, what you want included on it. I usually just leave this alone, but you can also, what if you wanted to do a date range? maybe they've taken a lot of tests and you just want to know the last couple. You could put in a date range. I've done that for a class so that I'm only looking at their last test as a class. So you could put that in there. Unless you have enhanced, this isn't going to be very helpful, but usually just go to the tests then. So I have, oh, I can also change the color. I can make it black and white. I can make it green here as well. So then you go into your tests and then it populates. So this is the individual skills profile, and I'm going to filter for a name. And I am going to do this one, and then I'm going to go ahead and generate. So it's green, right? Which is a different thing. And it tells, this one tells me how he's going to do on the GED. He's going to need more help. You can't really change this one a lot. These are clickable, which you may have not known. But with this individual skills report, it's pretty much this is it. If you want to change the layout settings, you can go back and say, well, I really don't like green. I'm going to change it.
Hey, Darece.
Yes.
Quick question from the chat. And you may not know this answer, but is this available to download on the MacBook Air?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think they're trying to do it for absolutely every possible device, but I would not know if it works on that TE. Try it and see what happens. To download it, let me bring another screen over and let me show you how to download that. So you're going to go to your eTests Online, and there's where you install TE right there. So if you want to do that, you can go ahead and try it. So just where you go to get into your eTests, in this first screen, either you're going to have the student take a test, you're going to sign into Proctor or set up testing sessions. You can also install it from over there. Okay, let's go to a different test where we can actually report, where we can actually drill down. So here is under eTest is where you're going to find the next assigned test. If you do it by class, then it's only going to show the tests, the students in that class, and I'm not sure I can do that. Let me try it. See. Nope, I'm not quite set up for the new year yet. That one didn't work. Let me just try one more. Yeah, I'm not quite set up for the new year, so I wouldn't be able to show you. But if you can, it will just show the students in the class, and that is an enhanced feature, which costs a little bit more, so you may not have that one. But in this one, you're going to see the next assigned test. You're going to see that personal score report that the students can automatically print. But if you want to get one for them to take to an employer to show them, you can do that. This is where here's the skills, here's the competency. So let's look at this one. And I am going to make sure that criteria is not on. I don't really want that. This you can set up first, but I'll show you that you don't have to do it that way. So I'm just going to leave it default. And then I'm going to go to that student. And you can just put in, you can choose to do contains, which is often good. It just if you're not sure what the name is. You could choose any of these to filter by. You can filter by, this one's that one, okay. All right, we'll go back. So I'm going to do the same test that I did last time, and I'm going to generate it. All right, so here it is. This is his reading goals test, and it's showing the competencies. But that seems like a lot of information to me, and I really don't know, how he did, because no and yes is all over the place, and so I don't really feel like that's that helpful. So I'm going to right click on his name, and it gives me this option. So, oh, okay. So now I can see that he needs more information about taxes. He could also use, if we did a unit on job concepts and materials and all of that, which I think most of the students need, B need help with, right? Could use that. If we did a unit on this, his scores would go up in the competency area and possibly in the other, in his other areas, because he'd have the vocabulary that he needs, the understanding that he needs. He's a pretty good reader, but he just doesn't know a lot about this topic. He may be moving up to D fairly soon, which means he'd have to even know more. So you can do that. You can also drill down to, let's see, task. And get an idea of, so task 2, these two are pretty even. He needs a little more work with this. This has a lot of items, but that's the bulk of reading right there. So anyway, these are some different ways that you can adjust the way that you're doing a test. If I want to change the program year, I can do that here, and I can include this year and this year. And this is the first time he's taken this test, but if he had other tests, I could compare. So we're right at a new fiscal year, and it's sometimes good to be able to look at what they did in May or April, all on the same report, and I could generate that. So, okay. All right. So one of the things that you can do to find materials to help you is they have a free, on the CASAS website, quick search online, and you can go into that and put it in by competency. You can put it in by task. You can put it in by level. You can put it in by math, reading, listening, and it will show bunches and bunches of materials, software, books that could help you with that area. So I wanted to let you know about that. They also have a video, and let's actually look really quickly at, okay, so this is training. So you can take, every year we have to do the trainings. This is kind of what's covered in module 4, but I'm doing it a little bit differently, but you can get into that one. This is where you'd find the online trainings. There's also videos, so you could go to their YouTube channel or their demos. So if we look here, if you need to know how to replicate your test sessions. So here we are getting ready to test again. the data manager, whoever's in charge, has got to put the tests over from last year, or CASAS will do it for you, or register stations, or adding sites, or, and then they have big ones. So, but that's just one of the areas that you can choose to look at. They have a YouTube channel on just TOPS Pro, and then there's one on staying informed. So I recommend that you keep, explore what that they have. And again, this one is the best one right here. If you can't find it here, or you're just really frustrated, or you're in a hurry, then go ahead and do tech support, email them or call them, and they will help you with that. Okay, so I wanted to show you something. This is particularly for ELL. And my colleague, Jamie Matthews, had this brilliant way of setting up a lab. So I'm going to show you this one. If you're doing reading goals in math, all you have to do is set up one session. If you set up say you are registering new students and returning students at the same time, you can set up a session, which is the intake session. You don't have to have a post-test session for returning students. As long as you use the same code, they will automatically be given the test that they need to take next. So this is for ELL or for ABE. If you don't have to set up post-test sessions and intake sessions for your returning students and your new students, you can just have the intake. If you put in the same CASAS code, it will automatically take them to the next test that they need to take if they're returning students. So that's fewer sessions. But if you're an ELL student, there are 3 choices that you have. You have ELL students. You can have level A. So that's for students that you've gone through the screening process and you know that they are probably a level A. You've asked them the questions, you've watched as they filled out their intake forms, and you can see that they're a level A and you don't want to put that through the trauma of a locator. So if you have a classroom where you're setting up computers, you can set one row up of level A, and then the student comes in, you just set them there instead of setting up every computer individually as they come. We've tried that and it takes a lot of extra time. You can always switch these over if you need to. And then we find this is the one we do the most. So we set up a row and a half or so of this one, which is the session that has the locator, and then it places them in the test. And this is the ELL. And then we also serve students who have exited and are ready to do reading goals. And we'll usually do math later for those, but then we set up a few like that. So if you are setting up one classroom and you're trying to test everyone, instead of trying to get the testing station to be, individual and customized and take the time, this is a really good way to set up. If you have more than one classroom, so you're going to have 60 people, then you can set it up like this. So level A would go to classroom room 1, this level would go to classroom 2, and your goals people would go here. And then you can have the proctor station open in all 3 rooms, what you would have to, and you can kind of monitor that. And everyone logs in with their login and everybody's on the same page. They can see the same thing. Okay, so if you want to take more, CASAS has quite a few things. They have this module 4. They also have a PowerPoint that you can go through with more about reports. So you could just go and choose module 4 and log in, and this is what it looks like. So you go to CASAS and you choose modules. And then you log in and then you enter here, and that's how you can take any of the trainings, but this particular one if you want more information. The enhanced, I just wanted to quickly mention that the enhanced allows you to do class reports. So let's just look at a couple of those, just so you know what those look like. And let's see where the fastest way. Okay, let's see if they're here. Okay. So that's competency. Anything that says summary is going to be a class report. So let's just, because we're going to be quick here. Do we have a summary? Let's see what this one looks like. This is an individual skills profile by summary. You have to set up classes in TOPS Pro, and then you can pull for your class. So here we have an ESL class, and this particular one is listening and reading. Usually it's by form. I'm not seeing that. Maybe not. Okay, so you can see as a class how everyone is doing. And if you're doing face-to-face instruction, this is very helpful. You can see what most people in the class needs. You can see the number of items, they're greatly multiplied, but you can zero in on where the class is having issues. And let's see, we've got 60 items here. Here's health. It's got 800 items and only 36% of the class is getting it correct. So this may be something that you need to do. Let's do an employment unit. Only half the students got the questions about employment correct. So let's do one on employment and see if we can raise those scores. And then of course you can look at it individually, but this can be very, very powerful if you have the TOPS Pro Enhanced. Okay, I just wanted to put a plug in for CASAS has a news and updates tomorrow. If you wanted to go to that. And then here's just general information. I think that's all I have. So I'm going to stop sharing. Let's see. There I am. Okay. Stop sharing.
Thanks, Darece. Just hang on for a few more moments to see if anyone has any questions.
And I will send you this PowerPoint so you can get it out to everybody.
Thank you.